Let me guess. You've just finished building your custom mechanical keyboard and you're looking to program it with your own shortcuts and macros. Well, you're in luck because today I'll be giving a tutorial on VIA and to show off my personal favorite macro of all time. Let's get started. The first thing you want to do is look up VIA. Once you're on their website, you can either download the VIA app or use the web version, which is simpler and more refined. So unless you see yourself programming this keyboard all the time, I suggest using the web version. On the bottom left corner under Simple, press Start Now and it'll bring you to a new tab where all the programming happens. Before you move on, make sure the keyboard on your screen has the exact same layout as the keyboard plugged into your computer. If it doesn't, go down to the layout icon and play around with it. Maybe you have a split spacebar or an ISO keyboard, or maybe you have a completely unique bottom row. You'll find one that matches. After all of that is done, if you like, you can customize the interface a little bit by going to the Settings tab. I like mine to be in blue and 3D. The next thing you should do before customizing any keyboard is to check if all the keys on your keyboard are working. And you can do that here on the Key Tester tab. Keep in mind that on this tab, the keyboard on the screen doesn't have to match the keyboard you have. Now back to the Configure tab, on the top left corner you'll see an option to jump between different layers. This is a pretty common feature on most PCBs, and it comes in handy when you need to fit in more keys for macros. On the bottom under Basic, you'll see a list of letters and numbers and you can assign them to any key on your keyboard. Just select the key you wish to customize and then select the function by which you want it to be replaced. It's pretty simple. Moving down the bar, there's lighting to control the RGB on your PCB if it has any, and media for quick commands like volume or play pause. Chances are whatever keyboard you're using, you probably don't have enough blank keys to assign these media and lighting functions to. So that's where the layers comes in handy. To switch between layers on your keyboard, you need one of these. They all have different features, but don't be overwhelmed. If you hover above them, you'll see a short description about it. I personally use the MO*1 the most. That means my secondary layer will only be activated when I hold down on that button that is assigned to be MO*1. On the topic of layers, the secondary layer is also where people usually program their macro for commands, shortcuts, and even passwords. A macro, for those who don't know, is a sequence of keys that are recorded and then played back by a single keystroke. I have one that I found especially helpful and I'll get to it in a bit. So to program your own macro, first go to the Macro tab. You'll see two ways to do this and you can either record a keystroke or type it in yourself. Keep in mind if you do decide to type it in yourself, you aren't typing in the keys directly, rather you're typing in the key codes, which you can refer to from this link down here. To record the macro, which is the easier way, simply press all the keys you wish to activate with a single press of a button. This can be zoom in, zoom out, or even screenshot. Just any commands you wish to activate with a single keystroke, which would normally take multiple. Once you've done that, go to your secondary layer and assign it to any key you want. But keep in mind it only activates when your keyboard is on that layer. Alright, so that was the basics of VIA. Now let me show you my personal favorite macro of all time and my RGB keybinds. Again, the first thing I did was set up the key that would activate my secondary layer, which is always the bottom left key on any of my keyboards. Once that's done, I went to my secondary layout and try to fit in as many functions as I can. I typically try to only use the number row, but I do like using the arrow keys for RGB control. Arrow up and down for saturation, and left and right for hue. Now to my favorite macro of all time. Basically, as a Mac user, I love switching between desktops all the time, and unless I have a trackpad, it's pretty annoying to do. What this macro allows me to do is switch between desktops single-handedly while dragging tabs with my other hand on the mouse. To do this, I went back to the Macro tab, pressed record and tapped on the right control once and left arrow once. Then I would save it and repeat 3 more times for the rest of the arrows. Then I applied the corresponding macros to the WASD keys. Once all of that is done, you should be able to switch between desktops by first clicking the switch layer button and then the A or D key. Alright, so this is the end of the video. I hope you learned something. If you did, please like and subscribe. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.